Oh, here goes, and welcome to the 163rd episode of Throwback Hoops. Woody V's in the house. Please follow the show on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. And as always, it's a very happy Easter to my main man, Robbie Clayton. What's going on, buddy?
What's up, Woods? Nice to be back. I know we sort of recorded late the week before last, so we didn't do our normal time slot last week. But yeah, we thought we'd sort of, kick off this week, the Easter break, a lot to talk about with these playoffs started. And yeah, looking forward to get into it, mate.
Yeah, a bit of an NBA-centric episode today. Obviously, as you said, it's that time where we've been waiting for the play-ins to finish and the playoffs to get started, right? So,
but you're wearing an NBL jersey. You're breaking the rule.
I am. I got a little story behind it. So without further ado, let's take it away then. Why don't you show us your jersey for the day?
Cool. Well, you don't know who this one is. You can probably just see it's an old school champion. I haven't worn a champion one for a while. I've been wearing a few new school ones, so I wanted to take it a little bit old school today. A blaster in the past, this guy, and someone that I think we both liked back in the day. Here it goes.
And Robbie's wearing the Minnesota Timberwolves champion Terrell Brandon jersey. Yeah, awesome, man. That is awesome.
Probably a name we hadn't thought about for a while,
I
right?
love Terrell Brandon, man.
Pretty cool. I've got his bobblehead somewhere. I was just saying to Emily before hit record, but I want to get that out. But yeah, Terrell Brandon. I don't know what made me choose this one. I was kind of looking through I actually like the jersey. I like the green sort of, trim around the side of that. But thought I'd speak about someone that, probably a lot of people either don't know or really haven't heard that name for a long time. So yeah, it's a Terrell Brandon blue champion Minnesota Timberwolves jersey. So Brandon played 11 seasons in the NBA after getting drafted out of Oregon by the Cavs at pick 11 in the 91 NBA draft. So you remember that 91 draft, Woods? Remember any names from that one? I'm picturing that first upper deck set and those rookies in there.
Yeah, so that was the one after Derek Coleman was 1990, right?
Sounds right, yeah.
So I think LJ maybe? Correct, Kenny Anderson,
yep.
Billy Owens,
yes,
Dikembe Mutombo.
Nice, that's a top four.
Yeah,
Are you looking at, you're not looking at Wikipedia?
No.
You name any of the other ones? So that's 4 of the top 10. You name any other ones in the top 10? The first ever Aussie and
Luke Longley. Yep, for sure. Maybe Chris Gatling in that draft?
No Gatling. We had Steve Smith.
Yep.
We had Doug Smith, bit of a name from the past. We had Mark Macon.
Yep. Mark Mason.
We had, it's got to be Macon, right? As in bacon. It's spelled the same, And then we had Stacey King and Brian Williams.
Right.
Late Brian
Stacey
Williams.
Augman, no?
Was it Stacey? It was Stacey Augman, wasn't it? Yeah. I just got Stacey.
I'm pretty sure that was Chris Gatling in that draft as well.
He could have been later on.
Yeah.
So a few of my favourites there. There was a big Billy Owens
Eric
fan.
Murdoch, maybe.
Smitty from the city. Yeah, maybe. So interesting draft when you look at that. But I can sort of picture those upper deck cards. But yeah, Terrell Brandon. So he played with the Cavs, Bucks, Wolves. So he only played for 3 teams in that 11-year career. Last played in the 2002 season. His career was really cut short due to injuries, which is a bit of a shame there. So interestingly, Woods, in 2003, he was traded from the Wolves to our Hawks, but never played a game. He'd already sort of had his career sort of cut short by injuries. He's one of those trade chips that, people sort of bounce around. So the 5'11" point guard was named to the all-rookie second team in 91. This is the bit that I kind of remembered, kind of didn't. He was a 2-time All-Star.
Yeah, mid-90s, I think it would have been.
Yeah, so 96 and 97, so back-to-back All-Star years in those sort of mid-90s there. So, look, great career. He ended up playing over 700 games, career averages of 13.8 and 6.1 assists. So he's now 54 years of age. He runs a barber shop, which I thought was pretty cool in Portland. He's also got some real estate development sort of things as well. So he's still got some good businesses going after that. But yeah, what were your thoughts on Terrell Brandon? I'm sure this is a guy like me. You haven't thought of this guy for a long time.
No, I just remember him just being able to plug and play him. He could start. He was a solid professional, right? Made a couple of all-star teams, but he was reliable, right? A guy that you could count on to be that starting point guard on many teams.
Yeah.
There was some controversy with him later on in his career, like some guys tried to extort him or something like that. Something happened, right?
Like, I think it was him and like maybe an NFL player or something like that in the same time, sort of thing. But yeah, not controversy on his part.
I just remember that towards the end of his career, right?
Yeah, nice.
But like a guy that averaged 13 points and 6 assists over his whole career.
And he was that kind of good point guard. He was very quick, wasn't he? Obviously 5'11", so he wasn't the tallest guy, but he had a lot of speed there. And someone I always enjoyed watching. What team would you remember him most from there? So you're talking Cavs, Bucks, and Wolves.
I reckon probably Cavs was like a long time, right? You know,
Yeah,
he was
Cavs
there
I
for
think was
like,
where he would have been an
yeah,
all-star with as well, right?
yep,
The Bucks, I can't quite picture him in that Bucks jersey.
nah.
Obviously, he was there for a little bit there, but and I'd forgotten that he had got traded to the Hawks. So he sort of goes in that category for guys that were a Hawk and never played. So like Carmelo Anthony and those sort of random ones like that, I suppose. But nice jersey as well, right? I do have a Tom Gugliotta one. Have we worn a Googs one?
I've got the same one.
Have
Yeah,
we
yeah.
worn a Tom Gugliotta
I
jersey?
have. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure you
I've
have,
worn the
right?
exact same one you're wearing
Okay, the
now.
exact one, yeah.
I remember he was
Genuinely nice
Mark
jersey.
Price's backup for those first few years as
Yeah,
well.
he would
Brad
have
Daugherty
been.
was
Yep.
on that team, like Craig
Yep.
Yellow, Danny Ferry, right? Yeah.
And would safe to say a champion size 48, much better than a champion size 44. I've got to say, I'm not going to have to get this one off of the paint scraper. So
I found a Mashburn 36, bro.
Oh, 36.
So small, man.
Wow. Yeah, that
I was
would
just
be
clearing
tiny,
out my
wouldn't it?
jerseys earlier. Okay,
Nice.
so why don't you take
Nice.
away the card of the week then?
Right, card of the week. So I did something a little bit different this week. A guy that I've sort of seen his name mentioned a little bit as a possible player that might be in the NBL this season. So I was just looking again. That's why I sort of was looking at drafts that I spoke about before we started recording. And this was a guy that was a top 10 draft in the NBA. Born in the South Sudan, Australia. He's with me so far. Has never played NBL. Has been rumored to be playing for quite a few years now.
Yeah.
Last
I know
was
it is.
playing in Beirut of all places. So
Yep.
I'm talking about Thon Maker there.
Yep.
So this is a pretty nice card here. This is actually his rookie card from 2016, 2017. It's kind of a triple threat card here, Wood. So it's an auto card, it's a relic card, and it's a numbered card. So you can see the two relics. So for people that don't know, relics like part of a jersey. Normally a game worn jersey. Sometimes that can be a bit cheeky there, make it a practice jersey, but it's a rookie card and a signature card. It's also number 149 of 149, which is pretty cool. So, yeah, Thon Maker there. So 7'1". What does it say about him there? Yeah, so he's going to live in the gym and he hopes to have a really good career. So look, it didn't quite pan out in the NBA, did it? He was close to an all-rookie second team in that first year he played. Drafted by Milwaukee, went on to Detroit. I don't know if he got another stop. Cleveland, yeah, that's right.
And the Houston Rockets waived him this year just
Yeah, that's right.
before
He
the
was on
season
that roster,
started.
right? Because we were sort of thinking it might be another connection there. But it's a strange one with him, right? He was even trying to play with South Sudan in the Olympics last year. He's played with the Boomers before, and I think that's why he didn't get a spot there. I think he might have grown up in Perth when he moved from South Sudan, and there was always talk the Wildcats were going to get him. The team I keep hearing at the moment in the NBL is Brisbane Bullets. They're really trying to sort of chase after him. The Beirut League he's playing in, Woods, you know a lot about that league, do you?
No, but I did see him in the
Lebanon?
FIBA Asia Championships last year where there was
Yeah.
Australia Centre undermanned side, and he played really well. He was in that All-Star 5. That's the first time I've seen him play extended minutes anywhere for a long
Yeah.
time, right? So he's still
But
good at
he was like touted as like a kind of a mini Kevin
Kevin Garnett. And
right,
Garnett had a
when he came
lot
out.
of
So
props on him, man.
he did
Right?
too.
Said he would be a Hall of
rated him.
Famer, remember?
Yeah. So, all right, two questions. Why didn't it work out in the NBA for him, and where would you like to see him this year?
I think it didn't work out for him in the NBA, maybe because he wasn't a hard worker. He didn't work on his range. You know,
So he lied on the back of that card and said he's
Yeah.
going to live in the gym. Is that what you're saying?
No, I think so, man. Like, I mean, he has all the tools to be successful at that level, but it never panned out, right? You think a guy 7 foot can stretch the floor, block shots. He's the perfect prototype for the NBA.
Yeah.
Why didn't it eventuate? But I don't think it's all lost for him yet. At 27, 28, right? He still has an opportunity to make an impact for himself. Maybe not in the NBA, but I'd like to see him back in Australia for sure. Yeah.
I'll throw this one at you as well because I was thinking about this. Why do we not see more South Sudanese guys in the NBA? There's obviously it's a really growing, basketball, country there and everything like that. We see a lot of them playing in the NBL, a lot, playing in Europe. We saw they had some success in the Olympics there, which doesn't seem to translate to NBA, does it?
See
There?
Deng
It's
Adel
interesting.
and Mathiang, I
Yeah,
guess.
we're talking really fringe sort of players. There hasn't been really like a breakout sort of guy, I guess. So maybe that's coming, I guess. But yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting.
Honestly, if you look at all the South Sudanese guys on the national team, I don't think any of them are an NBA level talent quite, right? A guy like Bull Cole's one of their better players. Sunday
Yeah.
Detch, right? Are those guys
Deng
NBA
and
level
stuff.
talents? Probably not, right?
Yeah,
Definitely
no,
not,
very
right?
cool.
So,
But nice card, isn't it? It's one of those really thick cards. I think anytime you see those relics, I don't know why they've got two relics on, but it's pretty cool, right? So you got the relics, you got the RC rookie card, and you got a signature there. So that's a nice looking card, that one there. So
Thon Maker wouldn't have been the worst selection on our Australian team. We were lacking a big man.
yeah, 100%. You wonder where that'll go from now because he's not going to suddenly go back. So I think he wants to play for his birth country there, but they don't like players doing that. And I think that's why it could always be hard if Kyrie wants to play for the Boomers. The fact that he's played for another country there, they don't like you sort of switching, do they, Fever? So yeah, but hopefully we see him maybe get a chance this year and be back in the the public eye because he's a bit of a forgotten about guy, isn't he?
Yep.
Someone we've both got his NBA jersey, I think.
Yeah, I've got his NBA jersey.
Yeah,
I've got his Milwaukee Bucks jersey. Yeah.
Nice. All right, Woods, well, you said you got a bit of a story. You got an old school NBL one in there. What do you got for us?
All right, man. So a couple of things I want to ask you. I'll just stand up. I've gone a bit left field. I've not worn a jersey today. I've worn a member shirt. Okay, because I was thinking about a time. There's a lot of talk going around about can another team survive in Sydney, right? We've had those discussions. So I found this shirt and I thought I'd wear it in light of that.
So Woods is rocking the old school Sydney Spirit, defunct team, and it's got the member 2008, 2009. That's not a bad one.
Yeah, and you can't see it. It's signed by the whole team. So a couple of questions for you. Do you remember some of the guys on that team and how it set up your franchise for the next 10, 15 years?
Matt Knight and Damien Martin, right? I'm thinking.
Correct. So, yep. So Rob Beveridge coach, Matt Knight, Damien Martin.
Really wouldn't have still been playing there, would he?
Give me a few names.
Jeez. Sydney Spirit. Graham Dan.
Yep.
Trying to think who their imports were on that team.
Okay, so it was just Derek Lowe, who was the Hawaiian import.
That one. Yeah.
Liam Rush, Damien Martin, Matt Knight,
Rush. Wow, that's a blast.
Julian Kazoo, David Gruber, Tony Rampton, Luke Martin, Graham Dan, Drew Williamson, Jason Smith.
That's a random team, isn't it? I mean, Jason Smith, he was kind of towards the end of his career, then I would have thought. But yeah, some random names. Like guys like Liam Rush, I hadn't thought of that name. You're right, a lot of guys that went on to play for the Wildcats there.
Yep, and that was the season when the Kings went under, right? And the West Sydney Razorbacks decided to rebrand as the Sydney Spirit, and it just basically wrote their obituary, right? No one turned up to games. The players were playing for free, basically, towards the end there.
Tell me, Woods, did they revert straight from the Razorbacks to the Spirit? Was there any in between time, or literally so they just changed the name and was still in? They didn't sort of leave the league.
They were going to come back as the Razorbacks and the Kings that season, but when the Kings went under, there was only one Sydney team. They thought they could unite the Sydney fan base by calling it the Sydney Spirit as opposed to the West Sydney Razorbacks.
And that didn't work, did it?
Yep. So my question to you is, with all this clamour about a Next Stars team, another team in Sydney, we've been down this merry-go-round in the past with as far back as the Bearcats, right?
Yeah.
Then the Razorbacks, then the Sydney Spirit. Honestly, do you think that a second team can survive in Sydney in light of what we've seen?
It's an absolute no for me, Woods. I mean, I went to the AFL a couple of weeks ago and saw GWS play. So we know that Sydney Swans, we're talking AFL, are pretty popular. GWS, just it feels like it's a second team there. There was nobody there. Half the people there were given free tickets. There was no atmosphere, no crowd there. Look, it's not the best sporting city. We're both, Sydney boys. Well, I'm a, converted Sydney boy now. We're both, we would both say that, right? They're not a great city for supporting sports teams. It doesn't matter what it is, right? I don't know why it is. I don't know why there's the excuse that they don't go to games when, Melbourne are such, great sporting fans there. Perth, Adelaide, Brisbane, Queensland in general. So I don't think it'll work. I think it would be a big mistake. I know the league wants these things. It's got the biggest population. The population's continuing to grow here, but I just don't see how people are going to, suddenly, especially if you're talking immigrants and other people, maybe they're trying to sell this product too. You're not going to suddenly come and pick this new team. You're probably going to go for the Kings, a team that's been around sort of thing. But I'd love to see a new team go to, look, we've talked about places before, whether it's a Canberra, whether it's a more regional part of New South Wales. I mean, where else? Townsville, I don't know.
Coast.
Like, Gold Coast, yeah. But
Darwin.
Darwin, yeah, not another one in Sydney. But look, it's right. And you're right, that's why they did do that, right? They thought, right, well, the Kings fans aren't going to go for the Razorbacks. Let's try and change the name, rebrand it, new colours and everything like that, and try and get some Kings fans on board. But it just didn't work, didn't it? It's still hard to believe that there wasn't a team in Sydney for quite a few years. That's just crazy in a national league, right? That was nuts.
Unmitigated disaster. I'll tell you something, right? Like, I rocked up, right, to get my season pass, my season shirt and whatever, and my credit card had maxed out. But they just marked it off as paid. And I told them, no, I haven't paid. They're like, no, you've paid. I checked my credit card statement, I hadn't paid. So I ended up getting the whole season for free, including all this stuff.
So it's possibly your fault that they went down because they lost money, right? Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
I'm saying if they're not paying attention to detail to me, they probably missed a few of their 100 members. But this is a unique jersey, man. Not many people would have these, right? So
cool. Yeah, nice.
Okay, I'm going to talk about our Hawks in a second. It's
I'll get the black armband out and play the somber music in the background, right?
end of the season. So, look, we're going to have an NBA-centric show today, okay? We're going to look back on our draft that we did at the start of the season, our
Our
wins draft. I'm
Looking
really
forward to
interested
that.
in that.
You don't know who won yet either.
I have
It's gonna be
no
fun to
idea
get
about
through.
anything, so I'll
Yeah.
leave that to you. But before we get into that, I just wanted to go through the playoffs and get our predictions for each series, have a look back on the play-in a little bit,
Yeah.
right? So maybe let's start in the Eastern Conference with our Atlanta Hawks, right? Let's start there. Lost 2 games in a row, lost to the 10th seed Miami to fall out of the playoff race, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you've seen in the play-in in the Eastern Conference, you've got Miami getting the 8th seed, and then we've got the 7th seed, which went to Orlando, yeah? So talk to me.
I'm still pretty down about it, to be honest, Woods. I've kind of got mixed feelings about this whole thing. If I wanted to be the negative sort of side, I know Trey and a few other people have come out from the Hawks and saying, look, this plan is absolute rubbish, right? We finished 8th in the regular season. Why are we not in the playoffs? And there's some merit in that maybe, but this is the rule, right? This is the rule that we play now. It's the plan. We do it in the NBL, we do it in the NBA. And probably firstly, I'll give full credit to Miami. They're not a team I love there, but to finish 10th and just to find that right form at the end of the year and now be in the playoffs. They're playing right now as we record, actually, on Monday, the 21st of April. But look, very disappointing. They had 2 chances to get through. They were pretty bad in that first game at Orlando.
Terrible.
I actually thought we'd be playing Chicago, to be completely honest, in that second game. Miami did the job on them, and then we had everything at home just to win that to make the playoffs. And came out really poor. We were down 10-0. It wasn't a great start to the game. But look, the Hawks came back and they were great in the second half there. They forced overtime. Just couldn't get it done. Davion Mitchell just got hot. It was ended up being, I think, a double-figure margin in overtime, which we don't see much there. But look, disappointing. We know injuries is a factor there. We miss Jalen Johnson. He's a huge part of our team there. So I think we've got a question later on in True or False, or I'll talk a little bit more about my thoughts of the future for the Hawks. But, we had a couple of guys that's not show up, right? Zach Verisashe, my goodness, he was just awful in those 2 playing games. 1 of 11 in the second game against Miami, elimination game. Couldn't even play him in basically the second half. So we played, shoot that thing. Niang, who was pretty good. He missed a crucial little hook shot very late, which people are talking about. But I don't want to sound like it's our great Woods, but geez, Miami got some luck in that game, right? So they had those 2 buzzer beater shots by slow-mo Kyle Anderson in the third quarter. They had 2 plays in the fourth where they basically shot it at the end of the shot clock. There was that one that Highsmith basically tapped in this air ball that Adebayo, I think, shot. That was ridiculous, that one.
That just luckily fell to him, right?
Yeah, luckily fell to him. Thought there was a couple of dodgy calls we got against us as well that, maybe they could have challenged. Look, if I'm being really picky, I thought Trey got bumped on that drive going in at the end. They're never going to call that on a last-minute drive. It was a great shot by Trey. But, look, Trey started off slow, but I thought he was really good in that game and kind of put the team on his back a bit. Onyeka Okongwu, loving what that guy's doing. We've got some bright pieces for the future, which I will speak about later, but very disappointed. I would have loved to have seen us in a series. I think I said to you, I thought the Hawks would have matched up pretty well against Cleveland. We beat them a couple of times in the season. They've got a very small backcourt. I think Dyson Daniels could have made life tough for Donovan Mitchell. I think they would have had no one to stop Trey there. Yes, they've got a bigger and better front court than us, so I think we could have at least matched up there. So just disappointing is the word on my mind, Woods. And I think I said to you, and I said to my daughter as well, there's no Hawks now for 6 months. What am I going to do? I've watched every game this season. Yes, I'm a sicko. I watch, games in January we're playing at Charlotte and these sort of things, but I did not miss one Hawks game all season. So it's going to leave a big hole in my life for 6 months now. But I'm a New York Knicks fan now for the playoffs, Woods. I'm converted. It's all about the cat and Josh Hart for me. So, so New York Knicks all the way for me now.
All right, with that in mind, we'll do a post-mortem on our Hawks and look forward to next season. We'll do a bit of a Hawks talk episode over the next couple of weeks where we can really double-click on a few things, right? Okay, with that in mind, let's start there in the Eastern Conference then with the Knicks, right? So you got the Knicks playing the Pistons. First game yesterday, the Knicks won 123 to 112. How do you see that series going? And give me a little bit of a prediction there.
Well, I think it's probably interesting for all these series, right? We do have the little bit of a benefit of hindsight there that a lot of games are 1-0 in, or I think the only game that hasn't been played yet is the Golden State Houston one. So we've got a little bit of a hint on how things will go. Look, I enjoyed this game yesterday. Madison Square Garden was just rocking in this game, wasn't it? All the celebs are out there. Great place to watch basketball from. I'd love to get there one day. That's definitely on the bucket list. And Detroit were looking really good for a while, weren't they? So I think Pistons won the season series 3-1 as well, and they are a hungry team, right? They seem to me more like one of those teams that are happy to be there. They want to be there and they want to cause some damage in the playoffs. So they were looking good, and then the Knicks went on a 21-0 run, which was just crazy seeing that. So look, as I mentioned, Big Cat and Josh Hart, they're two of my, well, Cat's probably my second favourite player in the NBA, and Josh is probably in my top 5 or 6. So that's definitely my team for the playoffs now. And look, based on that, I'm going to say New York win it in 6. I have a feeling this is going to be a fiery series, Woods. There's just a couple of characters in this one. That Malik Beasley, he is getting more crazy by the year, that guy. Beef Stew, we know he's a nutcase as well. So I can see this being pretty fiery. Hopefully Jalen Brunson, he always seems like he's limping and got some sort of issue with his ankle. Hopefully he's okay. But looking forward to this series. I think this is an intriguing one. But yeah, New York in 6 for me. What about you?
I'm going to go New York in 7. I do think that Cade Cunningham is the best player on either team, right? With Jalen Brunson coming back from his injury a little bit, Cade Cunningham has just been fantastic this year. And I think he will put the team on his back and they'll be competitive. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Pistons won the series. I'm not going to tip them, but it wouldn't surprise me, right?
I'd love to have Jaden Ivey out there right now, wouldn't you? Just another crucial player on
absolutely.
That one. But it's a good series, though, this one, isn't it? I think the Detroit, they're going to come out and support their team in the home games there as well. And it's just nice to see Detroit back in the playoffs, right?
Detroit basketball.
We'll hear a bit of that, right? So maybe they'll bring out their version of celebrities. We'll see Jalen Rose and maybe a couple of Motown singers and General Motors workers or something.
Very gaudy, man, in the crowd, right?
Yeah, nice.
All right, cool. Let's move to Milwaukee, Indiana, the 5 vs 4. So we saw the Indiana Pacers beat the Bucks 117-98 yesterday.
Smashed them, yeah.
Yeah, so talk to me, man. Damian Lillard, apparently he's been cleared of DVT now and it could be back in this series.
Well, he's talking up a bit with Tyrese Halliburton in that game, wasn't he? Saw a bit of trash talk there.
Yep.
This is probably the East series that I'm maybe the least excited
Me too.
about. I don't know why. It's funny, isn't it? I really feel like the Bucks have just limped into this postseason now. I haven't been a big fan of this guy, Woods, but the Kyle Kuzma trade for the Bucks has been an absolute failure, right? An absolute failure. So for those that didn't see in game 1, he played 24 minutes. The only stat he had was 2 fouls. No points, no rebounds, no assists, no steals, no blocks. That is absolutely horrendous there, Woods. So they traded away, a real piece. Yeah, albeit an injured guy and Chris Middleton there, but that's just, it has not worked out.
He was a minus 25 or something ridiculous yesterday.
It was the least stats by anyone that's played over 20 minutes in a playoff game, I think I read as well. So just terrible there. I don't know, I kind of feel a bit sorry for Giannis. I don't know who else is going to step up and give him some support there, Maybe Portis can have a decent game there.
Ryan Rollins, the rookie. I mean, I don't know if he's a second-year pro. The guy who's just come out of nowhere, the point guard that's starting for them, right?
Yeah, and Kevin Porter's, shown some signs towards the end of that season there, the old bad boy there. Not loving this series. It's probably not going to be one I'm jumping out to watch. I'm going to say Pacers win this in 5.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, third-year pro, Ryan Rollins starting at point guard, right? With, as you said,
So what do you think, Kyle Kuzma, just someone that was putting up sort of empty numbers in Washington and maybe got that career boost and status there from being a Laker, like I've said with so many guys. Alex Caruso, yeah.
I honestly think that if Kuzma needs to rediscover some of that 2020 championship pedigree form that he had with the Lakers with LeBron. Since then, he's just been sent to Washington into nowhere, playing for nothing. You're mentally not, in game shape, right?
You love his fashion, though, right?
Absolutely not. All right, so I'm gonna go Pacers in 5 in that one as well. It's sad to see, and the Bucks have a lot of things to look at in the offseason if that does eventuate, right?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so let's go to the other game that was just finished this morning, which was Boston Orlando. How do you see Orlando getting a game from Boston?
I mean, look, I didn't get to see any of the game this morning. It was a pretty early start here. But look, Orlando's one of only 3 teams to actually win the regular season series with Boston there. So I think they would have gone into this playoff series with a bit of confidence. They're a funny team, Orlando, aren't they? They're a bit of a slow down team. They're a defensive grinding team. They're a team of bullies, right? They will bump and hit you the whole game there. And I think that's probably their game plan against the Hawks, which really worked for them there. In saying that, though, I don't think this is a matchup that the champs can take easily, knowing they lost their that head-to-head there. I think they've got too much experience in this young Magic team. So, yeah, gentleman's sweep for me, Boston in 5.
I'm going to say Boston in 4, man. You see,
Okay,
Jalen Suggs is out, right? You've got Mo
You don't
Wagner.
like Corey Joseph as a starting
Corey
point guard in
Joseph
2025.
starting in 2025.
What's that all about?
Exactly, right? So I just don't think they're going to have what it takes. They might be competitive. Maybe they'll get a game, but yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to go more than 5, surely.
No.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, the one that's going on at the moment, which is Miami versus Cleveland. Just on Miami, for a number 10 seed, you mentioned it earlier, to come out of the play-in and get into the playoffs. That's a hell of an achievement. We may not see that very often happen, right? Yeah.
Well, look, the Cavs are up double figures on them now, so you think they'd probably win that one. Look, Miami maybe underrated a little bit. I sort of sat down and watched that game on Saturday. I was like, man, these guys, they've got some winners on this team. They've got Wiggins, who's won it before. Bam's, he's had some really big games in his career.
Davion Mitchell, the essential
gold medalist. Davion Mitchell, man, that was just crazy what he did. And Tyler Hero, the one we haven't spoken about, that was an all-star this year, and he was the difference in that game. Guys like Hayward Highsmith impressed me as well. He's
love
a
Hayward
really
Highsmith,
handy
man.
player, right?
Just does a little bit of everything. Like, Pat Riley loves him. The coaching staff love him, and I think a guy like Tyler Hero as well. When he's coming off those on balls and getting to the mid range and shooting those jumpers, he's almost automatic now, man. Right?
Tyler Hero seems to me one of those guys that's really worked on his game. He seems like he'd be one of those gym rat guys that just gets up and shoots it, because he's really continued to improve that game. He wasn't a high draft pick either for me, was he? So
I tell you what I've noticed about him: the concentration he has. When he goes up to take a shot, he's concentrating so hard on his target and to make that shot, right? And some of his shots have high degrees of difficulty with his hands and his faces and things, and he's making them, right?
Tell me, what happened to Kevin Love? I saw there was something, was he injured or something like that? What's the deal? Why is he not playing?
We know Kevin Love's had a history with some mental health issues and stuff. Maybe that has something to do with it. I'm not sure, but he's been out for personal reasons on and off.
It's been a while, hasn't it?
But I don't think there's any need for him to play in this rotation, is there?
No, probably not. Look, if I'm being a sore loser, Woods, I'd say I'd probably love to see the Cavs win 4-0. I'm going to stick with the theme that I've had probably from the last few games there. This feels like a gentleman's sweep with me. Maybe Miami get one of these games in Miami, South Beach crowd represent, and then they just sort of lose it in 5. But look, the Cavs have got a lot to prove, I think. They had such a good record in the season. I still feel like people aren't treating them that seriously, right, as terms of contenders and that. So
I agree with you.
They've got a lot to play for, but I think they'll be too strong for the Heat.
Yep, I agree with you. I'll go in 5 as well.
So what's the recap there, Wood? So I had basically, I had Knicks in 6, and then I had Pacers, Celtics, and Cavs all in 5.
Yep, I had Knicks in 7. I had Pacers in 5, Celtics to sweep.
Yeah.
And Cleveland in 5. Okay. Right?
So we pretty similar, all the same winners and a few similar ones,
All right, let's turn our attention to the Western Conference, where the number 8 and number 7 seed were locked up by the Golden State Warriors at 7, and the Memphis Grizzlies, who lost by 50 points today to the OKC Thunder at 8. Let's start.
I think that was a misprint, wasn't it? Or was it really 50?
51. Let's start there.
Crazy, right? Look, I finalised my predictions last night, so before sort of this game started there. This is the only sweep that I'm picking for the first round. So I've got OKC sweeping there. Look, they seem to outmatch Memphis in every position. I made a joke with a mate of mine, Nick, today. Shout out Nick, big OKC fan, that maybe after this result today, OKC will win in 3. Because maybe Memphis just won't want to turn up anymore once they've lost 3. They might just throw the towel in there. So that's crazy, seeing a 50-point playoff result, right? So that really is nuts, seeing that.
For a Memphis team as well that's like changed their coach late, they're going through a period of transition. It would have almost been better for them not to make the playoffs this year.
It's not a bad team, though, isn't it? Look, you've got Ja Morant, you've got Desmond Bain, you've got Triple J, you've got some other pieces on that team as well. It's just strange that can happen. But OKC, I don't think anyone played more than about 24 or 25 minutes in that game, which is crazy there. So not great for their postseason stats if you're looking at that side of things, but they'll take that. I think Wiggins is huge for them, getting 20 points, and just a massive start. So this will be a really quick series, I would have thought.
Yep, agree. And then the Warriors coming in at 7th, they won that play-in game straight away against Memphis. Probably a good opportunity for them to play the Rockets. If they had gone to the 6th seed and played the Lakers, it would have been a bit more of a difficult matchup, I think. So this is the series I'm looking forward to the most, and same with you, I know.
100%.
So give me your thoughts here.
So I know we're going to wrap up recording and go and put this one on at our respective houses there. So definitely the most intriguing season for me. I feel like I've changed my tips several times on this one, Wood. So Yeah, I don't know. I do have some concerns that Houston may have that happy to be here type mentality. I think I've mentioned a little bit in these last few months there that geez, they finished second. Are they sort of happy to be there, and they end up losing in the first round? But in saying that, they've also got some dogs on this team, right? Some guys that will bring the energy and that will not be afraid to go up against a team with that championship pedigree in the red hot Warriors. We've got to say that since that Jimmy Butler trade, they've been like, I don't know what the record is. They've been like high 70% winning percentage there. One key for me, I think, and this is probably going to maybe decide the way this goes. I think young gun Ben Thompson on Steph Curry there. So he held Curry to 1 of 10 shooting the last time they played, last month, I think it was there. So that's a big one for me. This might be the only one I've got going the distance. I think it's going to be a fun series. I may change depending on this first game, but I'm going to say Golden State in 7.
Yep, me too. I'm going to go Golden State in 7.
Looking forward to it, right? There's a lot of fun matchups in this. Dylan Brooks and Draymond, can we see them getting into it about a minute into the game?
Yeah, it's highly likely, man.
Houston's going to come out and try and play a bit of bully ball there. They're going to show they're not scared to be there. I think this is going to be really fun.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I'm excited, man. As you said, in about an hour or so, we can log on and watch that. Okay, Lakers Timberwolves. So big upset yesterday. Lakers on their home floor. Timberwolves blew them out.
Well, this is another one with that kind of benefit of hindsight, isn't it? Look, the T-Wolves just shot them out, didn't they, in this game one? It was never really even that close there. I think they've got to be the favourites now, especially with the size and strength advantage that they have. We know that one weakness the Lakers have is a big man. They tried to get it in Mark Williams, and the trade went through. Geez, he would have been handy in this series. I mean, Minnesota's huge, right? Julius Randle, you got my boy, Nazir Reed, and you've got the Stifle Tower there. So that's a massive front line they can play there. I like Minnesota in this one now, Woods. I think the Lakers bench is a little bit lacking, and as I said, the lack of a true big man still worries me. So it's going to be maybe my first upset I would have thought of. I guess Golden State would be an upset given they're the road team, but I'm going to say Wolves get the upset. I'm going to say maybe even more surprisingly Woods in 6 games.
Ooh, okay.
A lot of people are picking Lakers as championship favourites. So this is probably me going.
I got Lakers in 7.
Okay.
I got Lakers in 7.
Tell me why.
I just feel like the Luka LeBron combination is going to, win in the end, right? You've got two guys of such high pedigree, and Austin Reeves there as well. Yes, the game yesterday, the Lakers do that sometimes. They just play really badly and lose, and the next game they'll come and win. It's been like the story of their last couple of years, right?
Yeah.
But as I said,
you don't like Minnesota's depth more. Like you saw, DiVincenzo coming on yesterday hitting big shots. Conley, the old man, stepped up and hit some big shots. And that patented right-hand floater that he does when he drives in there. Guys like DiVincenzo could be a bit of a difference. And Naz Reid, how good was that guy's shooting stroke yesterday? He doesn't jump.
He just chest passes it.
He does, and they don't even touch the net when his shots go in, do they?
So look, maybe I am being a little bit like wanting LeBron to do well. I'm wanting Luka to do well, so I say that, right? But it could be Minnesota in 7. I wouldn't.
Yeah, this should be a fun one to watch.
I like your prediction.
It does feel like this West series are a little bit more exciting than some of the East ones, doesn't it? It really does. And we knew that with how close some of these teams are. And that probably leads us into the last one, right?
What a game it was. Clippers versus Denver, overtime. Russell Westbrook, man. He was big.
Russ.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't playing much, right? In the last couple of games of the season, the new coach wasn't playing him much.
Yeah.
And then yesterday he just had 30-odd minutes, really contributed at vital times for them.
Crucial steal in overtime to basically steal the game, right? Yeah.
This is also going to be a great series, man. I've been going back and forth on this one for a while. And look, they only played 8 people yesterday. They played Westbrook, Peyton Watson, and a little bit of Jalen Pickett. No one else got on the floor.
That's probably the right move. We know that team. We don't like the depth on that team. So this is what you do in the playoffs, right? You shorten the rotation. You play your best players there. Look, I felt like that game one was a crucial one for whoever got that there, and Denver's going to have a lot of confidence after getting it. I feel like these really evenly matched teams, right?
Oh, man.
They were 2-2 in the series.
Yep.
I did read, though, in those 4 games, though, Kawhi shockingly he missed all 4 games there. So that's an interesting one, right? He looked pretty decent in that game.
He's looked great.
So he does. I'm going to say Clippers in 7. I like their depth. I like just that, they've got some guys that have been there before, guys like Kawhi. Harden obviously, hasn't quite gone all the way there, but he's been in some big sort of games over his career and stuff. And I like the depth, and I think a long series, Clippers in 7.
Yep, I'll agree with you on that. So do you want to just summarize those?
Yeah, so I've got Clippers in 7, I've got Timberwolves in 6, I've got Warriors in 7, and I've got OKC in 3. with an asterisk. meaning
So
4.
all of mine are the same as yours, except I've got Lakers in 7.
Okay. So if we're right on these, we might see some of these Eastern teams getting finishing their first round like a week before some of the Western playoff series finish. Yeah.
And OKC, the guys are playing 15, 20, 25 minutes. They're going to be nice and rested for round 2.
I'm assuming Dukas got on that game. I haven't checked the box score, right? But I'm assuming he would have got some burn in that game. A 50-point lead and guys playing in their 20 minutes. So, yeah, great to see that. I was actually thinking was a lot of, maybe you can check that one. I'm crapping on here. But a lot of Aussies went out in that playing games, didn't they? So we saw Josh Giddey out, Dyson Daniels out. And we saw someone else as well. Who was the other West team? Sacramento. Who was the other team that lost in the West? Dallas on Dante Exum. So three sort of our better Aussies, didn't quite make the playoffs because of that there. So look, it's good to have games on every day now, isn't it? We're going to see the 4 games for a while, and then it's going to start to smooth out. You got any Dukas stats for me there?
Yeah, I'm just bringing up the OKC 131-80. Dukas played. No, he didn't get on the floor today.
Didn't get on. That's harsh when you're up 50. Yeah.
All right, so what have we all been waiting for, man? The Wins draft. I'll throw over to you. I'm really curious to see how we went. So let us know.
Look, I'll give a bit of a detailed dive on this. This is something I really enjoyed doing. This is something we're definitely doing every year, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
So for those that didn't see, before the season started, we did what we called a Wins draft. We did copy the idea of. Who did we copy it off with? It's something that Simmons has done or something like that. Maybe Bill Simmons, yeah. So we essentially took it in terms of drafting 30 teams. We drafted 15 teams each, right? And then we basically added up the total wins, and then we've got a final score there. So we did a coin toss, didn't we, Woods? I won the coin toss there. So I'll just briefly talk through who we picked in the numbers, and I'll sort of let it know there. So with the first pick, I had Boston, right? So they won 61 games. Not a bad pick there. They probably would have been one of the higher picks. You went really well with your first pick. So with pick 2, you took OKC, 68 wins for them. So you're off to a pretty good start with that, right? So 68 wins for OKC. Pick 3, I had New York. So they won 51. So not bad, I guess. Not too bad. I was putting a little bit of a homer hat on there, maybe. So you had a couple of dodgy picks coming up, Woods. So pick 4, you had Dallas, who won 39. So that's already sort of, you've got the big one with OKC, but then 39 for Dallas. So you can see it's pretty close so far, right?
No one would have known that Dallas was going to have that trade when I made that prediction,
100%.
right?
I can't believe that Goose is still doubling down saying he would have made that trade again. Just be quiet, Nico Harrison. You're looking like an absolute clown now. So pick 5, I had Minnesota. I was pretty high on them, right? So they won 49. So not bad for a 5th pick. 6th pick, you had Milwaukee. They won 48, so not too bad there. So pick 7, I had Denver. So that was 50 wins. So that worked out pretty good there. Pick 7 getting a 50-win team. Pick 8, Woods.
Miami.
No. Pick 8, Woody Venkat. Philadelphia.
Oh, man.
24 wins. So this is the one that's, you obviously had the top one with OKC 68, but 24 wins.
How would anyone have predicted that?
I know. I would have probably taken it right around there as well. So that's definitely going to bring down your score a bit, right? But the next one, pick 9, Phoenix. I had Phoenix at 36 wins. So we both had some shocking picks there. You notice the trend here, Woods? No Cleveland yet. We're up to pick 10. Yeah. So pick 10, you had Indiana. So that was a good one there. 50 wins in the regular season for Indiana. So that was a pretty good work by you there. Bad one for me coming up. Really bad one, Woods. Pick 11, I had the Pelicans. 21 wins. So look, we didn't know that half their team, they just got destroyed by injuries. I still like that team, actually. I'll probably be high on them again next season, but 21 wins, an absolute shocker. Given that with the 12th pick, you had Cleveland, who won 64 wins. So it was only 43 wins off that one. So that I'd say is possibly the pick. You did another really good one, which I'll talk about later. A team that none of us were high on that went really well. So 64 wins for Cleveland at pick 12 was pretty good. Pick 13, I had the next pick. I took Golden State, who won 48. And then pick 14, you had Sacramento, who won 40. So, not the worst ones. Probably me getting Golden State at pick 13 was solid. Pick 15, I had Memphis, who got 48 wins. Not too bad. You were also good with the next one. Pick 16, you had Lakers with 50 wins. So not bad at all, right? Lakers really slid for us there. We obviously didn't know they were going to be getting Luka, but 16th. So more than half the teams are taken, and you got Lakers who won 50 games.
Do you reckon the Lakers would have still won 50 games if they didn't get Luka?
That's a good call, isn't it? Probably would have been fairly close.
Pretty close.
Maybe a few wins less, but pretty close. Pick 17, I had Orlando, 41 wins, not too bad. You went well with the LA team. So pick 18, you had the Clippers with 50 wins again, the same as the Lakers. So you can see a bit of a theme here. Was you've sort of gone out in the lead, you had Philly, now you're sort of coming, so you can tell this is looking pretty close, right?
Yep.
Pick 19, I took our Hawks. So they won 40 games. Of course they did. They're always going to win either 40 or 41. Probably not a bad pick, right? I picked 19 to get a team with 40 wins. Pick 20, you had the Spurs. So 34 wins. That's another one like your Philly one. I think if these teams had been healthy, you would have got quite a few
Wemby
more wins
getting
there.
out, missing 30-odd games.
100%. So we've both got a really good one coming up. Here's my one. At 21, I had Houston.
Wow.
21 with 52 wins. So that definitely boosted me up a little bit there. Considering your next one at 22, you had
Detroit?
the Utah Jazz.
Oh, what?
At 17 wins, so there's a big difference between those ones. Now, forget about Detroit for a while. We'll even put a coffee on until I read their name out. Pick 23, I had Toronto. So we're getting into the dregs now. Toronto won 30. It's probably not too bad. A little bit of a league watch homer hat for you. At pick 24, you had Charlotte, who won 19. So Charlotte and Utah ones back-to-back.
They've ruined me. I'm losing for sure now. Yeah.
This is the one that was funny that I'm surprised you never picked. But at 25, I had Miami, and they won 37. So not bad for a 25th.
I forgot about him, remember, in the original
I was shocked you didn't have him. I didn't even want to take him. I thought, I can't not take him at 25. 26, you had Chicago. So 39 wins for the Bulls. I thought they're pretty solid.
They did way better than anyone would have expected this year.
They did, right? Yeah. Okay, so still no Detroit. At 27, I had Brooklyn, who won 26. So, yeah, it's about probably where they should have been. At 28, Woody, Detroit Pistons, 44 wins. So 28th pick, Woods. Like, we were way off on that one, right? More than any other one. We obviously weren't high on them at all. We didn't know Cade Cunningham would play like this.
Like the way he's played, it's like no one. We thought he'd have a good season. You know, in fact, he's not been in most improved player conversations at all, which surprises me.
He is in the top 3. They came out today. So
is
it's
it?
him, Dyson, and I forget who the third one was. So check that out. No, he was in the defensive top 3. I forget who it was actually. It was someone else very good though.
Yeah.
And then, so 2 picks left. The 29th pick, I had Portland, who had 36 wins. That was a pretty good one to save me in the end. You had Washington at the end at 18. So what it worked out, so I had 7 East teams, you had 8. I didn't only just kind of check this. You had 8 East teams and 7 West. So we're very sort of similar the way we did it there. I guess call outs on that one, Woods. I'll start with yourself. So OKC with your first pick was amazing. Dallas with your second pick and Philly with your fourth pick. They were probably the ones that, made you sort of come down a bit. Cleveland, getting Cleveland with the...
as well.
Cleveland, Lakers, and Clippers are all really solid picks.
Detroit.
As I mentioned, San Antonio still won 34 there, but had they not had those injuries, they may have won another 10 games on top of that. And big shout out to you for picking Detroit with your second last pick. So when you consider ahead of Detroit, you drafted Chicago, Charlotte, and Utah, all ahead of Detroit. So shout out to you, Wood. So yours
actually not a shout out to us. Both of us are idiots for leaving until 28.
True, but hey, you still drafted them. So yeah, we're definitely. I don't know what we're doing there. So you ended up with 604 total wins, right? So 604 is the magic number, right? So my call outs, look, I mean, Boston with the first pick wasn't bad. They had the third best record. Good ones for me. Minnesota was good. Getting Denver at pick 7 was pretty good. I had some real shockers like Phoenix and the Pelicans back-to-back were bad. But, getting Golden State at pick 13 for a 48-win team was good. Probably the big one for me was getting Houston. So pick 21, just in front of you taking Utah, I got Houston.
You got the second team in the Western Conference with the 21st pick.
Exactly right. That's crazy, right? Yeah. And even Portland with my last pick getting 36 wins. So you think, you had the last pick, which was Washington, which is totally warranted there. I picked Portland one spot ahead and they doubled the win total there. So all that being said, so Woods, you had 604. I had 626.
Ooh, okay.
Super close. When you think of all those games, we had 15 teams each that all play 82 games. That's a lot of games, right? So real fun, right? It's actually really fun.
I reckon if our Pelicans and Philly, had a bit of might have been closer, right?
Yeah. So we'll definitely do this. Should we maybe make it an automatic rule, Woods, that next year you get the first?
Fine, because you did this year.
That seems like a fair way to do it. Yeah, so we'll do that. So, look, really fun. Send us feedback about that. I hope everyone sort of enjoyed hearing that. It was a bit of fun, something as well, because it was quite fun looking at the end and going through and seeing some of the, Cleveland and Houston and those sort of picks, but then also seeing some, Detroit picks that we had. And, what were some of the other bad ones that I had? Like, some of those ones like Phoenix and the Pelicans. Like Phoenix, I had them being the 9th pick there, and they were shocking. So, fun, Wood. So 626 for me, 604 for you. But, looking forward to do that all again next year, right?
Maybe next season, to all our listeners and our audience, find a buddy, do the same draft, and give us your score. score at the end of the year, and we'll compare it with yours.
And we'll be able to see, like, that 626 for me, is that a good score or not? I've got no idea. So we'll do some data once we do this after a few years, right?
Yep, absolutely, man. It's a really fun show. Always love chopping up with you, especially on a public holiday, Robbie. Did you want to take the audience out with...
that true false?
Yes. We've got time for that.
Yeah, we do. Of course.
All right.
I know you want to get to that game. You're telling me that now, right? I don't think it's started. I think we're fine there.
All right, so just some quick true or false before I take you out. If the Knicks do not make the conference finals this season, then the franchise should part ways with Tom Thibodeau.
Well, Woods, don't forget you're talking about my New York Knicks right now. So I'm going to say false on that one. I think conference finals, that's a pretty big ask. There may be a chance. So false for me. Look, I think they had a pretty good regular season. They were fitting in some key parts. Obviously, we're making that cat trade there. Look, one thing we know Tibbs needs to do is sort these sub-patterns. You can't keep playing these guys big minutes like that. But I think they should bring him back, and I think they've got a pretty good core team, this one. So I like what they're doing there. So false on it.
What if it's a first-round exit? To the Detroit Pistons.
First round exit, it almost feels like how a first round exit. Like if they were losing 5 or something, then that's probably not looking good. If this is a grind out 7-game series, I don't think they get rid of him there. I think there's some signs there, and it's a decent team going forward.
Yep. Okay.
And we know basketball is better, like if it's working in New York, right, for the NBA.
Absolutely, man. Okay, the next one is Steve Kerr should make Jonathan Kuminga a part of his playoff rotation. He's been getting the NPCDs, right?
That's just weird. Look, I'm going to say true, definitely. I think we're both probably fans of Kuminga there. It does always feel for someone like Kerr, though, that he plays, he likes to play the younger guys, the vets more than the younger guys. We've seen that over the years. He doesn't quite trust some of these. Feels like he trusts Moses Moody these days, though. He seems to be heavily in the rotation. But yeah, it's surprising. You wonder whether, Kuminga, does he have the, training habits there? Is he willing to improve on his game? So I'm going to say true there. What are your thoughts on that one?
I think true for sure, right? And he was really showing some things before he got injured. He's come back. I don't see any reason why you shouldn't play him. And let's see today. We might see him on the floor today, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Onyeka Okongwu could make an all-star game during his NBA career.
So I've got true and then yes written in capital letters with 3 exclamation marks there, Wood. So this is one of these ones that I've called, right? I called that in his rookie season, right? I was massively high on Onyeka Okongwu. Every year since, this is his 4th season, 5th season?
4th.
4th. Every year they're like, oh, he's going to work on his outside shot. He comes back in the next year. It hasn't happened. Well, it has happened this time. He is a legit outside threat now, which is great. And that's almost means that, Clint Capella is just, he will never play again. I think you call that as well. He hit 4 threes in that playing game there. He's got a really nice stroke on him now. He can hit him from the corner. He can hit him from the top of the key. Great defender. He's getting steals and running the lane. I think he's got all the tools, this guy Woods, and really, really high on this guy, right?
I'm really high on him. You mentioned that trailer 3 especially. When he's coming down the court and he's standing at the top of the 3-point line, top of the free throw line, they just find him before the defense gets to set and he chucks one up, and that looks automatic,
nice
man.
Shot. How good's his jump hook as well? Like he's got a lot of offensive talent there. Big fan of Double O there.
Yep, I agree with you. True, and really promising for next year. As I said, we'll do a post-mortem on our Hawks. Look forward to next year. A lot of positive signs to take from this season, right? Now, this is a very, very polarizing question, so I've changed it. Okay.
Ooh, okay.
I've changed it slightly. I'm not asking you. I'm saying the Atlanta Hawks will now look at trading Trae Young. I'm not asking if you think so. I'm saying the Atlanta Hawks will now look at trading Trae Young for assets.
Look, I think you always answer phone calls, Woods, in the NBA. You'd be stupid not to, because you might get someone like Nico Harrison making a call at the middle of the night sort of thing. I still say false though, right? And that's, you know how much I love Trae, and I don't want to see him go, right? I think if they step back and look at this season, they can say, look, there were some signs there. We had a lot of injuries. It wasn't just Jalen Johnson. We had injuries throughout the season now. Kobe Buffkin was supposed to be the backup point guard. Capella missed basically half a season. There's a lot of little sort of, Larry Nance, who was a key rotation player, missed a lot of time. So we had a lot of guys out there. Look, it's only four years ago, right, that we made that big run in the Eastern Conference Finals. They took it to Game 6 against the Bucks. If you look at that team back then, Woods, that was an aging team. They had guys like Lou Williams, Danilo Gallinari, Capella, Bogey, these sort of guys. So I feel we've got a great core 5 now if they do decide to hold on to Trae. You've got Jalen Johnson, Dyson Daniels, Onyeka, Trae, and Zachary Sachet. Now, Trae's the oldest player there, and he's like 26. So the rest of them are early 20s. Reece Sachet is 20, Dyson's 22. I think Jalen Johnson's 23 now, and he's definitely a future All-Star. So I think false. I think, like I said, you would listen to calls there. I don't think they'll blow it up there. We know Atlanta's never been a hot, free agent destination. Let's face it, right? They never go out and sign these big players. It's not Miami. It's not some of these other players like that. So I'm going to say false. Maybe that's me being hopeful as well. I hope they bring this team back and try and give it at least another go with this young team I'm talking about. But I have a feeling you might be saying different than am I right?
No, I'm going to say false as well,
Okay.
right? Really, because I want to see Jalen Johnson and Trae Young have a whole training camp, a whole season together, fit,
Yeah.
and see if we can make an impact, right? So
Yeah.
I would give it one more year, but I would answer the phone.
Yeah, it's the phone as well. But you look at that starting five, Woods. If we're healthy and we can bring Trae and Dyson in the backcourt, and then Jalen Johnson, Zachary Sachet, and Double O on Onyeka Okongwu, that is a very good starting five. So you still need to add some pieces to it. I'd love to see him bring Karis LeVert back. He is a free agent. I really like what he gave for us. I think Niang will be back. He's under contract. And then what do you need there? Maybe you need another sort of a center that can stretch the floor. You can't have guys like Clint Capella anymore. They're dinosaurs in this NBA. So.
Maybe even a wing defender, right? Like
Yeah.
you've got Dyson Daniels, one of the best defenders in the league, but we're one of the worst defensive teams in the league, right?
Yeah,
So
true.
need to.
So someone a bigger sort of wing defender that maybe can cover if Jalen Johnson does have his annual injury as well. So yeah, no, good call. Let's we'll be watching this off season with interest, but I hope we bring it back.
Absolutely, man. And sorry for jumping the gun.
Hey,
We've got through true or false. Now is the time, if you can, just take the audience through where we can be found.
Would.
Yep.
So please make sure you like, rate, and subscribe on YouTube. We'll continue to be doing this. Lots of NBA content coming up. So really got some big shows. I know we've teased it a bit, but there's definitely some guests that we will eventually get to. I know it's hard sometimes for us, Woods. We're so busy with our day jobs now. It's with the guests, you've got to sort of fit in special times, and if there's time differences with people in the US and that, but we will get some soon, including some repeat guests that went very well the first time for us.
Absolutely. Yep.
We can be followed on X at Throwbacks Hoops, Instagram throwback.hoops, and email address throwbackhoopspodcast@gmail.com. Please make sure you support us on Patreon as well if you're able to pledge, a couple of dollars a month. That would really help us with all the costs that we have with bringing this weekly podcast. But yeah, really appreciate everyone's support, and also let us know what you thought about predictions, what you thought of the Wins draft. Did I get lucky beating Woods in that? Was Woods a genius picking Detroit that late? Who knows, right? But let us know what you think.
Yeah, thanks, Robbie. And as you said, a lot of NBA content coming out throughout the playoffs. We'll have an episode next week. Any final thoughts?
No, look, get out and watch some of these first round games, right? I know we've both got the week off, right, Woods, am I right? Yeah,
Yep.
So look, another people will be going back for these 3 days. It's a funny week with the 3-day week, but yeah, watch some of these games. By the time this comes out tomorrow, we would have already seen this game, one of Houston Golden State. But there's some really good matchups there, and this is a great time of year for our sport.
Absolutely. So from Robbie and I, the team at Throwback Hoops, until next week, it's peace out.